community, welcome everybody to another episode of Blender.Today Live. My name is Pablo Vazquez and I'm streaming from home. As I ran a little poll here in the chat, 62% said that I will be streaming from the office, and you were almost right. I had everything planned up until the moment where I was setting up OBS, and there are some things that are only in the they're not available in the Linux version of OBS. So that's the one, the browser plugin thingy that I use for this stuff and the alerts and all of that. So I'm sorry to tell you that it has to be next week, but next week I already got a guest. I already prepared a guest. So today, say goodbye to this thing. Tomorrow it's gonna be for real, Let's get to it. This week, no announcements other than oh wait, maybe there are announcements. We have the developer of Eevee at the studio for a week, so maybe we can do some I mean, everything is online, is on a branch, but there is some work that it could be very interesting to have a sneak peek before it goes out. This is not 3.0, this is even later, but exciting times ahead. Other than that, Beacon 2, so every week I explain it. It's the stages of Blender. The first one, Beacon 1, where we are now, is like everything goes in, anything from big features to small features. But on Wednesday, it's the moment where we switch into only allowing features related to the bigger ones that were added before. So Cycles X should be in any time now. Not for this episode, otherwise I would have named it that probably. But yeah, in these coming days, then anything else that has been added up until there, it will continue to be developed during Beacon 2. But no big head like breaking news titles. However, this week it's packed with stuff because of course there is only limited time to add all those big features. So the developers have been working over the weekend, apparently, according to the time logs of this that I'm going to show you. But yeah, let's see what's there. Let's start immediately with the section that it's regular in the show, which is geometry nodes. So there is a new node in town. The new node is called Realize Instances. That's a name for the time being, but it's very descriptive. It makes instances real. So this is something that happens in the under the hood for some nodes, but it's not very clear when it happens or how it happens. So for example, when you have instances, when you have a mesh and you use a point instance and you instance something else, those instances are like virtual geometry, right? They don't really exist there. You can access all of the values, all of the attributes in there, but they are there. So it's very lightweight. There are some nodes that, in order to compute that data properly, they needed to convert that into real geometry, which has the benefits that you get all of, everything that comes with it, right? But there is also a memory and / performance issue because everything is real, right? Everything is real geometry. So now this is a node. This is a specific node. So the nodes that convert to, well, actually this is related to the support that is being added for some nodes to deal with instances directly without having to convert them, So for example, this one here, the set position node, part of the fields proposal, it now supports instances. So before, in the past, it would always make them real. It would only, every time you use that node, you would notice that if you had a lot of instances, suddenly it would be very heavy because, yeah, everything was real. Now it supports it supports instances, so it's going to be more efficient with instances. And if you want to have the old behavior back, you can just add the node that I just mentioned, the new Realize Instances node. Okay, what's with my voice today? I am back to a teenager. People always guess my age wrong. Tell me in the chat, well, how old do you think I am? Okay, next. In geometry nodes, there is a new node in town. Well, it's actually a node that already exists elsewhere. It's the noise texture node. Noise texture. So crazy things can happen. So let's see. This makes a texture node available in geometry node. It should behave the same as in the shader node, with the exception that it does not have an implicit position input yet. That will be added separately. So noise texture. Let's see what crazy things. Let's see if I didn't check if there was a demo. Oh yeah, this is demo. We saw a video similar to this in the past, but yeah. So this makes it super simple to add noise to your geometries. So look at that. Nice. Noise texture, like shaders. That's so cool. Okay, let's see. Quick, let's see the result of the poll. 69, nice, no? 34, 29. Okay, I'm 34. People were very close. Either I like the answers where there's like you have either 18 or 39. I'm 34 for a few months. Okay, next there is a attributes transfer is happening between curve to mesh. So when you convert that curve to a mesh, you would lose a lot of data. It would try to be converted at some point, but it wouldn't get through until now. This week, Hans added this patch where it allows point and spline attributes to be transferred to the mesh generated by the curve to mesh node. So all dynamic named anonymous attributes are transferred. So an user create attribute will be transferred, but radius, tilt, or the handle position attributes won't be transferred by default. It needs to be copied first. This trade-off is made for performances. Most of the time, users won't need these attributes copied. So make sure you make a copy of those attributes if you want to use them. But it's super cool because it's even smart about it, because all the attributes are transferred to the point / the vertex domain or point domain. It's a vertex domain if you see in the spreadsheet, but if you use the nodes, it's point domain. It's the same thing. But for example, if there is an attribute that has the same name as a built-in mesh attribute that only exists on a different domain, for example, in the face domain you have shade smooth, they can be transferred directly to that domain as well. So pretty smart. Thank you, Hans. Next, I think it's also by Hans, is it's a toggle button that allows you to switch between in the modifier panel settings, allows you to switch between attribute or an input field. So you can type a number, for example. So the icon is wrong. It's using the spreadsheet icon. We are in Beacon 2, so we are allowed to change. Well, we are going to be in Beacon 2, so changes to the user interface are allowed. People making books or tutorials or videos or anything that is recording the Blender UI, the user interface, it's advised to start making those once Blender enters the beta, because that's where the UI should be locked. Should be. As in, the user interface is not going to change. So if you make you're making a book and it takes you 6 months to get all the screenshots and stuff, the UI will look kind of similar. But yeah, no, definitely don't do it right now. Do not. Attribute is a hard concept to have an icon for. It's so generic. Hans, you're here. Yeah, but it could be like the blue dot, right? Just like in the nodes, we have in the shading nodes, for example, we have this thing. It could be something like that, maybe a toggle. I don't know. But yeah, this similar style. Next, because you're changing the socket as well, right? No, the data and the socket. So maybe it makes sense. Next is the, but yeah, just so you know, this option allows you to toggle between using an attribute, so you type the name, or you use a value itself. All right, next. Oh yes, not only like fun stuff, it's also performance, which in my dictionary it's super fun. Field evaluation is now multi-threaded as much as possible. So performance improvement, this adds a new parallel multifunction which wraps another multifunction and evaluates in multiple threads. This speeds up field evaluation quite a bit. The effect is most noticeable when the number of evaluations and the field is large. So yeah, there are still some bottleneck single-threaded performance evaluations that need to be solved separately, but huge news for performance in fields. Speaking of fields, some material nodes have been converted into fields. In this case, for example, the select by material node is a field now. So it doesn't have a geometry output, it's a function. This is an improvement because there are fewer links to connect. And it's also called material selections. It's more of an input than an action right now. Yeah. Next. What is the chat? Blender is adopting the industry. What is adopting the industry? Who said something like... Blender is not adopting anything. Blender is making its own. Okay. Want to change topics? Yes, I think we talked enough about nodes. We can switch quickly to one but big feature in the asset browser. The asset browser can now read recursive asset libraries. What does it mean? With this, asset libraries can be directory structures, and all the assets in subdirectories will show up in the asset browser. Long awaited feature for so long. Please give me, let me call the people here. Julian, thank you so much. Highly requested feature. That yeah, there can be performance hit on performance, because if you have many folders and many assets inside of the folders, that's it can be some performance hit, but there are plans for indexing. So before you write down the thing's gonna be slow, there are plans for indexing. There is some plans here, some discussions going on, some tasks already, even by your own asset browser indexing the asset library. It's a to-do, but yeah, there are plans. However, this is super cool, and yeah, it's awesome. It's in it awesome. That was the only news in the asset browser this week, but it was a big one. Also, we should have catalogs coming anytime soon, I think so, yeah. Next week is gonna be even epic error. Let's move on. Let's see what, because there's so many. Let's expensive compositor and user interface, some fixes too, but let's talk about the user interface. So this one is I think is my favorite one. Such a small thing, but I am not a huge fan of the flickering that happens in the user interface when you move, when you transform thingy, when you perform any kind of transform model in the UI, it flickers. The header disappears and the navigation gizmos disappear. Not anymore. Now the navigation gizmos are visible during model operators. So what does it mean? Well, that when you transform, look at this thing. This this doesn't go away when you move transform. So that is kind of a big deal. Well, to me, it's a huge deal. I don't know if you noticed, probably yes, watching time lapses. You know, you see someone super talented working on a time lapse for super fast, like working so efficient, and even for modeling was even worse because on every transform you would see that things will flicker. So yeah, the UI would like blink, 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 blink like a Christmas tree, and even it's colored like a Christmas tree. That's no longer the case. We there are plans to do it also. I couldn't find, I don't know why it's not working. I don't know if I have to enable a flag, but this should be on by default because this gizmo is also supposed to stay on while transforming. But this one, for the time being, no, permanently, it's on by default. So happy with that one. You noticed the flicker, but never paid attention. I had such a cringe whenever I was watching time lapses. In the future, I don't think that there's no time for Blender 3.0, but during the 3.x series, I really want to push for having the header not flicker, because now that's the one thing that is still flickering. It's just terrible. So this information right here, that should be where the mouse is, or maybe here on the top or here at the bottom somewhere. Maybe at the bottom because we don't have there anything and it doesn't cover that part. But anyway, it's that has to go away. The problem is that some tools, when you use them, they still have like instructions up here. So let's see if I can find. Yeah, you see this one has even off or clamp on and off. We have a status bar for that, but it's not being used here. So we have to go through every operator that has some kind of intro instructions in the header and then put them somewhere else, like in the status bar. So there is still some work to do, plenty of work to do, but this is a great first step. Next step, don't remove the header, Blender, please. Next. Thank you, Campbell, for working on this and working on the next feature, which will help the work that has started in 2.5 and before, actually 2.3, 2.5, 2.8. So a big improvement in that area, which is exposing every tool, every operator everywhere, like where possible. Why wasn't this the case? Well, there are some operators that depend on the position of the cursor, right? Like if you are, like, I don't know, if you're extruding, you start extruding from where the cursor is, right? So the position, or the, if you have, if you're using like a different point as a pivot point, that also makes a difference. If you scale, it's different if you scale with the mouse here than the mouse here, right? The precision is different. So the change this week, also by Campbell, it's about introducing a kind of context for operators to work on. This is also important if you make add-ons and make add-ons that also rely on the position of the cursor. This will come in handy because this new, it's not context, but way of operating. I don't know the exact word, but basically some operators can tell Blender like, hey, wait for input. For example, if you want to take a screenshot of Blender, there is an operator for screenshots, in case you didn't know, within Blender. It would screenshot whatever is under the mouse for the area. For example, if you want to screenshot an editor, it would work on the editor where your mouse is over. So you can't put that inside of a menu, because the menu will always be whatever. If you put the menu, it wouldn't work. or lasso select, for example. If you have it in a menu, the selection starts where the position of your mouse is. So there are many operators that have that issue. Now they were gonna wait for input. So the operator starts, then it waits for you to make the first click and drag or do whatever the operator does. Some examples. Let's see here. There is a bunch of examples that the bend transform operator, the extrude to cursor, depends on the cursor, lasso select, rip mesh or UVs, and vertex or edge slide. Yeah, this one is a big one because vertex slide, which is the G key twice, really depends on the direction of where your mouse, where the mouse is, right? So now this one has been exposed in a menu because they can be used properly now. So super handy. The extrude to cursor and lasso select now are exposed in the menus. And this makes things much more discoverable because remember that if they are in a menu, they are going to be shown in the F3 search, which makes it also easier to remember. Like if you like for lasso, you see, lasso, select lasso. Super, super nice. Also, it helps you to find the shortcuts, for example. Very nice, very nice. You know what else is nice? Freestyle is nice. And this one, I'm gonna take a moment to appreciate the consistency and perseverance, like the name of the rover in Mars. Because this patch by Yad Ahmed of upgrading the Freestyle UI has been ongoing for ages. What is ages? Well, this was created in February, and well, it's not that long. I thought it was even earlier, but since February, and the developer has been being very nice on taking feedback from the UI team and waiting for the feedback. Sometimes the team is busy, so basically it made it modern. It made it follow the regular UI in Blender. In the past, it was a bit of a, it was still very 2.7-ish. And even then, within the 2.7 chaos that it was, UI chaos that it was still a bit weird. So not anymore. This is how it used to look. Now it looks like this. So control mode, view match patch, and as render pass. Is this part of the same? Yes, it is part of the same because they are aligned. Also, edge detection. This belongs to this detection? This also belongs there? Yes, it does, because it's all in the sub panel. Yay for that. Then again, the line set. This UI is very 2.7. It is very space efficient, you would say, but also it's a kind of a mess of how these things work. So now you have the, well, this panel is very expanded, but you can also have it smaller and it's more organized. So you choose which combination and then you basically, you can click, drag down to enable, disable all of them. The same, the selection visibility. It has so many options that you had to expand the editor to be wider. So yeah, bunch of changes. You can check out the patch, but again, thanks to the developer. Thanks Yad Ahmed for being so patient. Now it's in, and now it's gonna be in Blender forever. Next, let's see more updates in the user interface / UI UX. So the blend thumbnail, the thumbnail for your blend files now has an option for automatic. Before it had, for example, here in the preferences, in save and load, yes, file preview type, there is now screenshot, camera view, or automatic, which will depend. I think it's in the camera view, it's go auto, or the best preview type. If not, it's gonna choose a screenshot of the entire workspace, or none. You can also make it to not have any file preview, but you probably want it to be automatic. So thank you, Harley, for that one. and many others. Yes, this is related to this addition to the thumbnail selection. So, you know, there is an option to have no previews at all. Well, this setting was also used for the asset previews, and that was, yeah, it was confusing. The name it didn't make any sense. And also, most of the time you want to save those previews, because if you want to access from another file, then you need those previews, especially because if they take time to be computed, you want them to be safe. So create the previews always at all times. Continuing, I think, well, since we're talking about Harley, another thing he added, very small feature, but it makes a world of difference. Did you ever notice that when you save Blender, when you go into the menu, like click Save File, Save, the saving, it's just started saving. So, but like without changing anything. So the UI, as you were seeing it, it would stay the same. So the menu will stay open and the cursor wouldn't change. Now, thanks to this tiny little patch by Harley, things are going to be a bit more clear. So when you click on save, the menu will close and the cursor will become a waiting cursor. Beach ball in some operating systems. So welcome. Such a tiny thing to make life better. And okay, now the following changes are user interface, but they're also part of a project that is going to have a presentation on its own in the future. You probably heard already about the people are wondering, is my t-shirt mirrored or I am mirrored? I am mirrored. Actually, my t-shirt, oops, nope. There you go. It says made by you. And yeah, I am mirrored here because I like to look that way. So yeah, I'm mirrored. But it's so weird to see myself mirrored. Okay, next. Okay, again, remember the 101 project, the Blender 101 project. That project, that main goal was to, one of the goals was to, example, have a Blender that is super trimmed down to the basics. You know, you just add a cube and monkeys and add colors and give it to a 3-year-old and they can do something with it, for example. So that concept involves a lot more than just that, right? It's not just removing everything from Blender, but being able to tweak Blender down to a level that it's almost unrecognizable in a good way. So to make like some kind of little apps with Blender. That is going to have a presentation on its own, but there are already some steps taken to allow more customizations of Blender's interface. For example, the asset templates, the list of templates in the sidebar, for example. Now there are settings to hide the library name, the asset names, or even filtering. If you want to be super clean layout, only the thumbnails. Basically, when you enable all of that, when you turn this on, there will be nothing but the thumbnails, which makes for a very interesting, I don't know if Dalai added some pictures. No, but yeah, there are many uses where you just want the thumbnails. You don't want filtering or anything. If you want to limit what Blender can do for other people to make it simpler. But on top of that, there are other settings that are available. So these ones that I just talked about, they are developer extras, and then you have to enable in experimental. It's not there. Yeah, override templates. No, it's not even here yet, and then it's in a branch. So too early. I saw it on a branch. There will be a section for app stuff, app template stuff. But it's mainly for developers, you know. You should be able to tweak Blender and remove everything, but it's mainly for, well, the developers with or users with a basic knowledge of the Python API just to be able, like making an add-on basically. So it's not a full-fledged developer, or maybe it is now. People are gonna kill me, but you don't need to learn C. That's the thing, or C++. For example, there is a setting where now you can disable the edge resizing for editors. So you can disable this thing. If you want people to just have the one size, you can do it. It's not in the UI, it's not exposed, but it's part of the RNA. So you can have an API here, show edge resize. You turn it off and then you disable it. The same with the region toggles, the sidebar, the end panel, and the toolbar toggles. Now there's also a setting to remove that. So yeah, these little arrows here, you can disable them now via Python. It is called show regions visibility toggle. So yeah, more customizations. And that it's all for the user interface. Wow, it's already 10 to 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, and I still have Grease Pencil and Compositor and some fixes and some add-ons and Cycles X to talk about. So let's get to it. Grease Pencil. And the name of this show, this episode today, is to celebrate the .dash modifier. Well, there were so many things to talk about this week, but I picked one that it was also a bit weird. You know, when you see the title, .dash. What is that? .dash. Well, it's a setting, it's a feature that allows you to convert your strokes into dots, and dots and dot dashes. Gee, what a tongue twister. Okay, let's see it in action here. Much better, much easier to see here. Okay, so let's say I have a monkey, a Grease Pencil monkey, the best kind of monkey, and I'm gonna call my evil twin with the proper aligned text in the t-shirt, and let's add a, well, first let's remove the layer with the fields because it's not really it works better on strokes. So let's say here, let's add a .dash modifier. Look at that. Suddenly I have, well, like kind of little chorizos. My Latino Argentinian heart rate chorizos. So let's make the radius a bit smaller. So you see, those are dashes. How long are the dashes? How do they go? Well, for 2 units. You can make them 3 units, 4 units, very long. What if you want a segment to be a dot, for example? You can add a new segment and basically tweak the segment. If you want a dot, then it means it's a 1 unit, right? So there you go. That's the dot. So you have dot dash. You can change even the material for each one of the segments. So let's say I have a material index. Let's see, what is the color of the monkey here? This one. I change the color. So this one can become blue. There you go. And the first one is gonna be, there you go, pink. Why not? There you go. What else? You can change the offset, and also not only you can change it, but you can animate it. It's a property. Look at this little icon here. Tells you that you can click to add a keyframe. So let's say I have the offset in my frame here is, or can I do like pound frame? And then it's not really working. This needs fixing, people. So this frame should assign the number of the frame. So then you can, okay, let's remove the driver. Delete the driver. Now let's go to the frame 1, add a keyframe, go to frame 24, and let's offset it by 24. Insert a keyframe, and it's moving. Okay, let's make it linear. Did you know that Blender really hidden features of like select, making things linear and extended interpolation if you're in the timeline, that works actually. If I have selected this, it doesn't show. Why it doesn't show? In the dope sheet it's gonna show. Should show. Dope sheet for the dope sheet. There you go, for the action editor. So Shift E, linear extrapolation, and T, linear. So it goes on forever and forever. Look at it. Christmas tree. Okay, let's move it from here to... Okay, now I'm just having way too much fun. So there you go. Look at that. Cling, cling, cling. That's awesome. And you can continue adding things. Of course you can. Okay, this can be super fun. That's cool. The developer, it was actually here in the chat. I don't know if Yiming Wu, what are you? He coded the feature, and he had a great example of an airplane, and you could see through the airplane, and some of the parts behind will have this effect, because this can be actually, I removed the layer of the fields, but I could just have limited this to the layer, right? For example, if I'm not gonna remove it, my beautiful monkey, so add a monkey, add dot dash. So there you go, I have it everywhere. So I don't want to have it in some layers, I just want to have it in the layer for lines, and there you go, now you have the lines. So yeah, awesome. What else? Oh, it disappeared. What happened? What is this? Why is it half blue? I did something. Is it animated? Interesting. Anyway, it's awesome. So thank you, Yiming. I don't know if I can find your render with an airplane and the dot dash lines in the back. So yeah, it's that's the onion skinning. Yeah, but it's a new object. Why would I have an onion skinning on? Right? Interesting. The mirror, Suzanne. No, but there is no mirror. Look, I removed this, and it's a new Suzanne added from scratch that is half blue. Interesting. Even in solid mode. Let me... Okay, no, I'm not gonna... I have so many things to show, but amazing. Great feature, and this is a clap for you, Yiming, for working on it. Also, thank you for your patience in getting all the feedback from the UI team and everything that involves this. Looking forward to see more of your stuff, such as, nice segue to this feature that has automatic crease with flat, smooth surfaces, which allows you to, whenever there is a smooth surface, yeah, sort of like the edge wireframe drawing in the viewport, that allows you to not to skip the layers that are flat. So yeah, automatic crease, and even working with Mark Sharp. So yay for that. Flat faces. The next, well, actually, I think that's all for Grease Pencil. Let's quickly jump into another one that was almost candidate to be the title of this show, because the Open Image Denoiser pre-filter has been added to the denoise node in the Compositor. The Compositor has a denoise node, which has been around for a while, but now the node is adding a new setting which comes similar to what Cycles X has already, which allows you to have a pre-filtering, so more accurate, but well, if you want more accurate or not, at the cost of, I guess it's gonna be render time / I think it's memory in Cycles X, but yeah, extra processing time, there you go, but much more precise. So all the detail that you would expect to lose shouldn't be gone. Let's see the renders here. So this is none, fast and accurate. Let's see. So this is without anything. I don't know if the YouTube compression allows you to see that much. This is fast and this is accurate. So let's see. This is none. So this is none. All the renders have different. Yeah, all the images are misaligned, so I cannot really see the difference. This is none. This is fast. And this is accurate. So none. Accurate. Yeah, you can see that the detail is preserved, especially in areas where it's very subtle. But I don't know if even the compression of the live stream is gonna preserve that. So thanks for the improvement. I think this was Manuel Castilla, right? Yes, Manuel Castilla Manzanilla. The next topic is 2 fixes that I think are worth mentioning. So fixes happen all the time. It's impossible to name all of the fixes that will happen during the week, but these 2 are worth mentioning. This one, snapping for gestures. This was introduced a time ago for the sculpt mode. Whenever you do sculpting, you could snap it to 15 degrees, I believe. Yes. It was only added for sculpt though. And this feature, like the snapping was working for, like in the viewport, it would look like correct, but on execution, it wouldn't work for other tools such as, I think Bisect. Yeah, Bisect, for example. So, and other model tools. So yeah, it was very confusing because it would look like it would work, but it wouldn't in the end. Worth mentioning that fix if you use the snapping, angle snapping in modeling tools. And the other feature, it's one that it fixes a limitation of the F-curve modifiers. When you use the restrict range that you can specify from which, for each range to affect for that curve to have effect, that modifier to have effect. Well, the limitation was so that you couldn't chain very many modifiers with that setting. They would always evaluate as the first one. And now you can. Now, if you have 2 modifiers or more, they will evaluate properly. And the image is taking a while. There you go. So now they will go like, it would work basically. So it's a fix, but a very important one if you're using F-curve modifiers. Quickly switch into rigging. This section I named it add-ons, but it's more like rigging because it's Rigify, which should be on by default by now. For discoverability, I think it should be. Well, if you use Rigify, now you have a new setting that allows you to run a script, any script, your own scripts, after the generation of the rig. So if you want to add, if you have a special script that it's something very common, right? You prepare your rig, you generate, and then you run another pass with your own settings. For TDs do this all the time for, I don't know, changing names, adding bones, cleaning bones, just regular maintenance. These can happen now with an actual setting. Alexander committed on a Sunday at 6 p.m. What the heck, Alexander? Sleep, take time off. Okay. Speaking of people that don't take time off, Cycles X got new settings, features. So speedups. The integrator state size relative to the number of GPU cores. What does it mean? Well, it means faster rendering for very high-end cards, such as the RTX A6000 or the RTX 3080. There is an increase in reduction in render time of about between 2 and 10%, which is kind of big range, 2 to 10%, but it depends again on the scene. The scenes that have a lot of objects, or the more complex the scene is, the more it will benefit from. Like, for example, the barbershop interior from the H327 film. that's gonna be one of the ones that have the most benefits. Lots of objects, for example. But yeah, it's super cool to see all developers jumping in, not only from Cycles, but also from developers of other branches or forks of Cycles as well. The other improvement is one that is close to my heart, because I really struggled when making the Caminandes. Yeah, you probably see it. The character from Caminandes, that llama over there, that is a Blender internal render. But when we moved to Cycles for this short film, the hair is transparent. If you want to make it fluffy, you make it transparent, semi-transparent. So Cycles was really struggling for the longest time. So that, I mean, still it's not an easy task to do, but it has been improved by Patrick from NVIDIA, Patrick Morse, in Cycles X for optics, specifically for optics. So yeah. And he was using the Kodo benchmark scene. So he was using that character down there for this improvement. So yay for that. Thank you, Patrick, for working on that. And I hope this comes to, well, this is very specific for optics, but that improvements in that regard can come to other areas as well. Okay. Let's see, what is the chat? Why is Pablo so sad? Well, I'm not sad. I actually feel very energetic today. It's just that there's so many things to cover and we're already past time. And the music, that's why the music is not playing back. Bring it back. There. Okay. Yeah, and I am afraid I don't really have a lot of time for questions, but let's try to make it fast. Blender.community or Blender.Today. We're gonna find here the .dash thread made by Sansuls. Thank you very much. Let's see. Let's zoom in and call my evil twin. Let's see. Makumoto says, hello Pablo. You are the best. Thank you, Maku. I've heard that another Pablo quit from Blender development, so I have questions. What is the future of sculpting tools which don't manage to go to master, like the array brush, the new vertex paint, and others? Will they become abandoned, or is there any realistic plan to integrate them into Blender? So, and the second question is, what will happen to the sculpting module? Will it become abandoned for many years? Please don't say that sculpting is already so good that developers shouldn't work on other parts of Blender. No. It's like, and it's also impossible to say that it will become abandoned for many years, right? Like Pablo Navarro announced that he is gonna step away from Blender development for a while. But we've seen this in the past several times. We've seen it. Yeah, all the major, or well, almost all big developers have taken breaks for months or even years in the past, and I think it's gonna be fine. I don't think it's gonna be the loss. I think Pablo has done a massive job into bringing what was a pretty much an abandoned area in Blender up to speed with 2.8 and 3.0. So I think if other developers jump in, it's not going to be as bad as it was when Pablo joined. So that's a really good thing. But other than that, no, of course not. It's not going to be abandoned. Sculpting is super popular, and there is already Joe Eager is working on the Sculpt Dev branch. Even today he was committing some stuff. So I think it's should be okay. Let's be positive about that. People show up all the time. Blender becomes more popular every day. So developers also have a look at Blender, and also working on an area that is so popular, such as the sculpt mode. You're kind of a rock star, so more people will like to join. Also, you are the eye of many people, so it can be tricky, but yes, let's be positive about it. It's not gonna be abandoned. Also, for many years, it's impossible. Like Pablo's been only working for Blender for like 2 years, 3 years, which is very well in internet time is a lot, but it feels like a long time actually, but it's not really that long. So who knows in 2 years, 1 year, if there's more people jumping in. Momotron, hello Pablo, I missed you. Hope you missed me. Of course I missed you and your avatar. Momotron. Again, what happens to Pablo Navarro? What leads him to leave the Blender Foundation? He was such a good prototyper for the sculpting branch, and it's hard to see a bright future for the sculpting branch. And I hope it won't inspire talented goats such as Brecht, Julian, Jax to leave the Blender Foundation and making tone rolls in the very sad. Of course not. For example, Brecht has been away from development. He made cycles and then he went work somewhere else and then came back, and that has happened. Now he's working at Blender. But anybody, you know, it's good that developers, but it's not good that they just leave. It's good that they take time, you know, not only for developers, for artists too, for anybody that has been working on a project for so long that maybe, you know, take a break, work on something else. Pablo Navarro said he wants to focus on art, making art. So he's still streaming on Twitch very often. So I don't know. And also, I mean, if you're using Blender for artwork and you know how to improve the features, I would be so tempted to just fix the stuff. And, you know, it's hard to say now, but when Brecht took a break 10 years ago, he came back with cycles. So that was actually a good break to take. But Jack Luke, he's now involved with Blender for a while now. But I think also for some years he was studying, not taking a break. But yeah. Anyway, don't be sad. Come on, don't be sad. Blender is open source. Anybody can join. We should do our best to be happy and positive so we can attract more developers that are maybe not so happy with how their computer graphics company is doing or behaving. Next topic. Hey, Picture says, hey Pablo, what is the plan for your wonderful node editor design ideas? It would be so wonderful if we could have that design in Blender. Well, actually, I have a branch. Branch as in Blender branch, with some changes here. This is not for the nodes yet. Actually, at the studio, at the office, I do have, and I was gonna show you today because I compiled it, but I couldn't. But yeah, I have some changes for the nodes. I didn't push to master yet because I'm still not happy with the result. But yeah, the changes that I'm planning, they're very conservative. There's no like crazy new node shapes or anything. It's conservative, so we can make it in time for 3.0. But let's see how it goes. I think UI changes, again, they are allowed to be part of Beacon 2. So after Wednesday, it should be possible to still get them in. So yes, although I have to take the branch and make smaller patches, and I don't even know how to do that for the time being. Like cherry picking changes, I don't know. I have to see. I need to take time to do that. Last week I spent time. Oh, by the way, I spent time on working on Blender.org, and one of the things I worked on is in the download page. After you download Blender, now it's gonna tell you the mirror where it's coming, where the build is coming, where the Blender is coming, and also the URL of the mirror complete, so you can see where, and the alternative mirror, so Germany, Denmark, or USA. These are all the available mirrors that we have. In the past, the UI was complete. It was silent. It will tell you click here if it didn't start automatically. So let me know when you download Blender what mirror it tells you and if it's correct. Like if you're in the US or Canada or Mexico or Argentina, somewhere in the Americas, you should use the American one. If you are in Australia, I think we're sending you to Netherlands. I think Asia too. Africa is also going to Netherlands, I believe. Most of it, because it is the heaviest meter. So yeah, Europe has a few options. So you should have a random of these places unless the country matches your meter. So that's something I've been working on last week, and this week I think I can spend more time on the user interface side of things. Okay, next. Do we have a chance to get some news on Vulkan in the near future? Well, I can ask, actually, I could ask the developers now in the office, because Clément is in here, it's in the studio for a week. So I could ask, how's that coming? He's working on the EV refactor, so many improvements, especially supporting grease pencil objects natively. Let's see. I have also an idea for right-click select UI. What if the lamp icon in front of every post will change its color when the post is very hot? As for example, a post is very badly received. So this icon will change color when it has too many votes, when it has like more than a number of votes. Well, now we have the fire icon. This should also change color. Let's see. Thank you for the feedback. Always welcome. Okay, I'm way over time. Let's do 5 more questions. Sean Becker. Hey, Pablo. Hope you're having a great day. I am. I was wondering if it's possible with geometry nodes to take a displacement texture and rotate its effects around an object to get around the directional limitations of the displacement modifier, where you can only displace direction along an axis or normals. Yes, you can. Yes, you can displace by changing the position value on vertices, and you can have like an object info node to get the location of another object. So yeah, you can use that as a pivot point with the point rotate. I think you can specify, right, in geometry nodes. I think the rotate, align rotation to vector, and this allows you to choose the pivot point. So maybe you can. Let me know. Let's see. Steve. I'm sure you others are asking about Pablo de Barro leaving, so I'll skip that one. Was wondering about Daniel Beisted. I thought I had read that he was going to be working on the modeling in Blender, but we haven't seen much new in the modeling department lately. Well, Daniel is an artist. He done an add-on recently for baking, but he's mainly an artist. So the fact that he's working on the module is mainly giving feedback, not coding itself. The developers that are working on that area is mainly Campbell Barton and Germano Cavalcante. He worked on improving the snapping tools recently, not too long ago, and Campbell has been working on everywhere in Blender, but one of those features was for example, keeping the gizmos while you transform. So the people that are working on the modeling team are also working on other stuff. Next, hi, thanks Pablo for all development. No feature requests. So many users from the other 2 softwares are switching to Blender. Hey, there's more than 2 softwares out there. This is a golden moment for Blender. I can't wait for the future. Yeah, Blender 3 is gonna turn some heads, especially for the number change, which it's not really gonna be that different from 2.8. Well, cycles are gonna be much faster. Geometry nodes fields. Yeah, okay, it will be. Any approximate date when the particle nodes might become available to try? Just an experimental branch? No, the team is now working. The team that will work on particle nodes, more likely, are now working on the fields of geometry nodes, which I think is very important to nail down that design before moving into other node-based systems. But yeah, it should happen. I think it's in the 3.x series, 3.1 or further. Also, can't help but think, what is more important for Blender Foundation? Adding more and more features or fixing and polishing already existing features? In my honest opinion, should be both priorities. In reality, one gets done more than the other. For example, Blender gets more features in one update and 5 updates. On the other hand, the NFBX file with over 300 characters. Well, FBX is a closed source format that is developed by Autodesk. Blender has really nothing to do with it. It has the add-on importer it's in Python, so yeah, it could be better, but do you really want that to be better, or do you want Blender blend files to be faster? Which actually in 3.0 they are much faster to load and write, and there are plans to make that even faster. And also people that don't use FBX but use something else, or USD or Alembic or GLTF, you know, everybody has their own priorities when it comes to file exchange. What is more important for Blender Foundation? I think it's a mix. It's the most important part for Blender Foundation is to push Blender forward and keep Blender users happy. And it's important to have a balance, you know. In Blender 3, when Blender 3 comes out, the performance between Blender 2.9 and Blender 3 is gonna be like the difference is gonna be abysmal. The cycle set is gonna be much faster, but also remember the mesh editing improvements of how many frames per second much faster. Undo is also faster. Like more, you can support more mesh details. There are many areas that are getting improved and like actually getting better instead of just adding new things. Of course, it looks like there's many new features coming in, because there are, but also I would say Cycles X, it was a great decision by Blender Foundation to focus on that and get two of the best developers around Blender to work on that for so long, for months, which doesn't happen often, and I think everybody will appreciate that. Yeah, again, this is about what? This is industry standard, 19 gigs of RAM, same in Blender, 40 gigs. Yeah, this is FBX file. BF is interested in BFX. Handling large amount of data is probably the biggest priority in VFX studios. Yeah, but you know, as you know, the Blender motto is still to provide small and medium-sized studios, like individual artists, small and medium-sized studios with the best. Actually, if you can go to the blender.org, that is pretty clear. It's in the about page. The mission: get the world's best 3D CG technology in the hands of artists and free and open source software. What is the vision? Everyone should be able to create 3D CG content with free technical and creative production means and free access to markets. So the best of the best for everyone. So of course studios are important, but also the regular users are as well. And I think Blender is doing a good job in covering both, especially again with 3.0. Then yeah, I think performance related. Yeah, performance is not an easy task. It's not just a flip of the switch again. It's yeah. When you improve performance, you also have to make sure that you don't break things. So that it's not easy. That's all I say. And compare Blender 2.9 with Blender 3, and performance is definitely a big focus. Okay, last question. How many votes must an idea have to be realized? In right-click select? Well, I mean, an idea with one vote already, the number of votes don't really define how, like, if an idea is going to be made or not, unfortunately, because like some things are wish lists that will be amazing to have, but maybe there's no developer that can tackle that. Sometimes an idea are pretty obvious things that that were not under the radar, and they can be improved. Return the back knife project behavior. This is mixed feelings, but I don't know the developers New interactive mood board. Compositor preview resolution. So there are, wow, this feature exists in the Compositor. So for example, this is a feature that, okay, has 22 votes. That's a lot of votes. But also it's mentioning that this feature exists in M. Castilla, which is a developer that is now hired by Blender to work on the Compositor. So they're more likely, even if this feature had 0 votes, this is very likely to make it because it makes because it's done by the developer that is now hired by Blender. So yeah, and again, reorganize this. I think everybody, this even with 1 vote, even with no votes, this is in the priority list. Okay, then Blender 3 was postponed to December 3 due to 3 December. Will Sprite Fright be released on the same day as Blender 3? No, Sprite Fright, the Blender Open Movie, which now has a very nice welcome page. Actually, if you're not logged in, it looks even nicer. About the creators who share, and you can read more about the Sprite Fright project and all their... Oh, this is super cool. This is a new blog post. You should check it out. It's free available. This is not part of the subscription. But it's about using grease pencil for effects, for like drawing ideas into, like, maybe you're not going to use it in the end, or maybe you can use an add-on to convert, or not an add-on actually, just the internal operator to convert grease pencil to meshes, and then you can render that. So make sure you check it out. Sprite Fright is due to be released on Halloween at the end 31st or so. I don't think they have a date yet, but maybe I'm spoiling the news. But the idea is for the end of October. So next month, the end of next month for Sprite Fright. And 3.0 will be on the 3rd of December. Due to 3 December. Well, I mean, it's Blender 3 on the 3rd of December. It's a nice date. And that's it. I'm way over time and I can't even speak anymore. So I hope you had fun. I definitely had fun. I managed to answer some questions over time. I hope people don't get mad at me because the video is too long. We'll try to, I always try to crop the intro and make some room. But things, yeah. Too many features. Let's see, what is the chat doing? That's awesome. People marking in the calendar. Is Blender having a Discord, an official Discord server? No, Blender doesn't have an official Discord server. If you're in any Discord server that has the name Blender on it, it's independent. It's not related to Blender Institute /Foundation / Okay. Time to call it a day. Shall we meet next week at the office? Finally. Yeah, I have no excuses. Come on, I have all week to set up the OBS windows and everything and to prepare everything. I have the microphone. I should set up a second microphone for my special guest next week, which you might guess already who is. But if you don't, tune in next week because it's going to be a fun one. Beacon 2 is going to be finally there. So lots to talk about. Maybe even Cycles X. Right? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Watch your headphones. Okay. Thanks everyone for staying until the end. I hope you had fun. I had a lot of fun. See you next week. Same place. Different place. Same time for another episode of Blender Today Live. Bye-bye.